Hello. Today I had the pleasure of talking to Ben Hughes. Ben is leading the sustainability and ESG at Pointer Consultancy Group, and we had a really good chat around where kind of companies can start. We aligned one of the SDGs to what a small business could do, and just generally kind of explored the topic. So enjoy, and yes, let us know what you think. And apologies if there was a bit of sniffling going on. Ben and I both suffer from hay fever, and this is the season, but hopefully it's not too distracting. Enjoy. Okay. Hello, Ben. How are we? Good to
Hello,
have you on the
thank you.
Calling the Collective podcast. So I thought it'd be good for anyone that hasn't met Ben or doesn't know Ben. Ben, you are well, Ben can talk about himself in a moment, but just a kind of brief intro. Ben's leading up the sustainability and ESG with Pointer Consultancy Group. He's done a lot of great work there, and he's and lots of great solutions on sustainable pathways, which is brilliant. A couple of events coming up. If we get this out, then it's this week and the following week. So ideally, you might get along to that if you hear this. But otherwise, reach out to Ben. He's on there and you can chat. But yes, I thought we'd kick off, Ben, with what was your, just to kind of understand why you got into sustainability, I suppose, in the first place. Having done a few of these now, there seems to be always like people have tipping points, and that might be like consecutive ones, or it might be just one moment where they're like, I really need to get into working in sustainability or sustainable development. What was your tipping point?
Yeah, sure. So, well, firstly, thanks for having me on. Appreciate it. And yeah, so I joined Pointer, as you mentioned, that's where I work, consultant and sustainability lead at Pointer. So I joined last May, so just over a year ago, and I joined there from previously the civil service, and before then I was at BT. So it's two very big organizations, and I feel like I wanted to take sort of a bit of a leap and a bit of a joy into a bit of a decision to join somewhere really small and feel like I was sort of making a contribution to growing something and helping to grow a business that felt like it was having a purpose and sort of contributing back to sort of its local area and local community. So Pointer traditionally did or still does project and program management and change management and bid management services, and so I sort of was recruited on the understanding that would help take a lot of the learnings from how we do what we do and the expertise that we have for our existing clients and sort of build that into a sustainability service. So take a lot of the key learnings of how we do a change management program, or how we lead a project or lead a bid for a client, and apply a lot of those sort of good learnings into sort of building our sustainability service around, helping a client think about its sustainability agenda. So that was sort of my ambition around wanting to, it's potentially a bit of a cliche, but wanted to feel like I had a bit more purpose in what I was doing, and feeling like I was contributing to a company that was helping other companies and helping other clients really get to grips and support them in giving them expertise and advice that they potentially don't have otherwise. So yeah, that was the ambition, I guess.
Nice one. And I suppose why we're kind of onto this, or one of the kind of key questions that we raised before starting was why it's really important for companies to kind of get involved with sustainability or have a sustainability strategy. Like, from your kind of perspective, why do you think that is really important? Why do companies need that? Why is that beneficial? And
Yeah, of course. So at the risk of using another cliche, I think it's definitely a sort of element of, if you fail to prepare, you sort of preparing to fail, in a sense, with this, that when it comes to businesses and their sort of sustainability agendas, I guess, well, it's important to first think about what we mean by a strategy, and a strategy in this sense is almost your blueprint or your plan for how you're going to achieve the sustainability ambitions that you have for your business. And if you don't take the time to sit down and form that strategy, or get support in forming that strategy and forming that blueprint, your plan for how you actually go about achieving the ambitions that you have won't be very well formed, and could be quite scattergun in terms of doing that. So I think, and that's important, if we delve into sort of what we mean by sustainability, it's not as simple as just sitting down one day and going, right, we need to be more sustainable as a business. How are we going to go about doing that? Let's get some energy saving light boards and stop printing off all the documents we have around the office. That's not really sort of, that won't really quite cut it. Sustainability is a lot more complex than that, and if you sort of use frameworks like ESG that you mentioned, and the UN SDGs as well as another sort of common a common one. If we use those tools and those frameworks as a really helpful way to sort of help consider the totality of sustainability. So ESG, for example, environmental and environment is one side of things, but we also have the social and the governance side of things. So D&I policies, your retention and remuneration policies you might have from a social perspective, well-being aspects, and then from a governance perspective, you've got things like your transparency, your ethical standards, your relationship with data as a company. If you fail to prepare and think about forming a strategy and think about, if we take all the totality of sustainability in all these areas and aspects that we could focus on, there's a danger that you could dip your toe into sustainability and think you're making an impact as a business, but actually you're probably barking up the wrong tree, for want of a better phrase, and not really focusing your time and your efforts where you should be and where it makes sense for you as a business. So yeah, I guess the point is that sustainability is all these things. It's the environment side of things, it's the social side of things, it's the governance side of things, and it could be all of those or some of those things for your business. So taking the time to consider what is materially important for your business, which areas you should be focusing on, and what elements should form the key aspects of your strategy will benefit you in the long run, because it means that then subsequent activity that you go out and fund, or you'll go out and do as a business, will be targeted and will be actually having the right impact that you want it to. So yeah, that's sort of why I think strategy is that first point of call is the key.
No, brilliant. And then just to dive a little bit deeper in there, so one of the things you kind of mentioned was the UN SDGs. So for anyone who doesn't know what that is, that's the UN Sustainable Development Goals, and there are 17 goals that cover sort of social, environmental, economic, I suppose, objectives, right? Everything from zero hunger to climate action. So one of the things I'm keen to do, because I was on doing a workshop last week, and someone mentioned like, how can an SME relate to the SDGs? And I think that's a really fair point, because like these are like big missions, and if you're just like running a wee coffee shop or a bakery or a small kind of digital marketing agency, like, might be quite hard for you to figure out how you could contribute towards that. So if we were to ground it for a moment, like pick an SDG. I'm going to put you on the spot here. Pick an SDG and then give me an example, and I can maybe do it. If you're not, I've got maybe a couple, but I'll throw it to you first. An SDG, and then give away or an example that a company could kind of align or contribute towards that. So for example, like climate action, what could they do? Or responsible consumption production, so how could they become more circular? Like, what would be, if you could for a second, just let's try it out, SDG and then tactic at a kind of ground level, because I think that's maybe what's missing a lot at the moment. So from your kind of experience that you've seen or you've recommended or suggested, or that would align.
Yeah,
not to put you on the
sure.
spot, but I'm going to put you on the spot,
Of course,
we'll
of course. Cool. So yeah, I guess one of them, I can't remember exactly what the wording. I think it's and I can't remember which SDG it is, but it's life below water, I think it is. So
yeah, well done. About, 14. I'm going to put money on it. 14.
14. Brilliant.
I don't know. We'll figure it out at the end.
So that's obviously implying it's talking about sort of the quality of the life and the life and nature that exists sort of in our oceans across the world. So obviously it's talking about the quality of fish that we have, etc., etc. So if the example that you were touching on, if I was a small cafe, a local business in a local business and local cafe, you could potentially look at that SDG, and at first glance you could be like, how can we impact that? How can we really have an influence on sort of contributing to achieving that SDG? But if you delve down and actually sort of try and simplify it and unpack it in a bit more detail, you could start to think, okay, well, what items do we have on our menu? What food and what produce do we use? Or potentially, what fish-based items do you have on your menu? Where do we source that fish from? That you then start to think about doing an analysis of your supply chain. Do you sort of source that fish locally? Do you sort of buy it from sort of more national supermarkets? Yeah, trying to do a bit of an understanding, where does that fish actually come from? Are we contributing to, sustainable practices in that sense? And so that's, I guess, one small example, being put on the spot, that obviously probably could be a bit more thought through, but I completely agree. You can look at those 17 SDGs, fresh looking at them and think, this is quite overwhelming. I don't know how I can contribute to something that feels quite broad and feels quite world-based, which they are. They're the world's problems as defined by the UN, which they're a big deal. So But when you break them down and think, how can my business apply to them? And that's one example. There could be that theoretical cafe example. There'll be some SDGs that they think, well, actually, that just really doesn't apply to us, and that's okay. It's thinking about unpacking that and thinking what impact can we have and influence can we have, and it doesn't matter what scale it is. It's because that's obviously proportionate to what your business is, and so if everybody's making the same small contributions, that all proportionally adds up.
Well done. Top marks, Ben. That was a
Did I
very good
pass?
answer. Given that you're fat. Well, not that I'm the sort of here to pass or approve you, but that was that was pretty nailed it. So basically, take the big goal. What we're saying here is take a big goal, and then go right. Okay, what does that look at my level? So if you're a cafe and you're selling, you've got fish fingers on the go or some sort of fish. Look at that. Where's that coming from? Where's that being sourced from? And then go, okay, is it good? Could it be better? Is it really, really bad? And then we can kind of work out from there. So, and then you kind of, I suppose, you would just work it through each goal, and then you would kind of prioritize. And I think that's probably what you're saying coming through. One of the themes from what you've said there is really having a plan, sustainability action plan. It doesn't need to be perfect, but having some sort of roadmap, some sort of plan gives you that direction. Otherwise, you can, like you said, scattergun, and you go, I don't know where to go. Where do we start?
Yeah.
So no, absolutely brilliant. Okay, so then moving kind of on, one of the other things that we were keen to discuss was around the kind of role of maybe networks and partnerships within sustainability. How do you, and probably this ties into what we're saying there, but how do you see that working? Like, why is having a network, strong network as a business, or why is having partners important for helping you build a more sustainable business?
Yeah, completely. So I think networks, especially in a sustainability sense, that they're everything really. And I think a large part of that comes down to the fact that with this topic, with the concept of sustainability and business sustainability, it isn't just a one size fits all solution for businesses. There isn't a off the shelf thing that you can buy as a business and go, right, if we just follow all these things, we'll be sustainable and great, tick. And that basically what I mean is that there is nuance, and that's why I think networks are so important, because as you start to build your network, you start to engage with different people and different organizations that can offer different support based on your needs. And so engaging with other people and understanding how they approach certain challenges, how they've approached those challenges for themselves, or how they've potentially supported past clients in the past around how they've come across certain nuanced things, given that every business is different and every business and sort of helping you to understand the different ways that you can address the things and the challenges that your business might face. So it can be daunting, I think, making that step into thinking about sustainability and thinking about your agenda and your sustainability agenda. So having and taking time to build that network of people, or build that sort of network of organizations that offer support or offer guidance, can really help to demystify it. It can be simple as demystifying some of the jargon through to actually sort of really getting into the detail of some of the complexities that might apply to your specific business. So I think networks play a really invaluable role, and I think it's definitely something I've experienced since I've started to build and grow my sustainability network, that it feels like a very welcoming network. It is a very welcoming network. There is that idea of the common goal that ultimately we're all in this to try and help businesses, our own businesses and other businesses, be more sustainable and be more profitable in the future, from every sense of the word profitable. And what that means is that I think the nature of the people that you engage with is that everybody is pulling in the same direction, and there isn't it's a very friendly network, which is a really good thing if you're thinking about getting involved and trying to expand your understanding of sustainability for your business.
Absolutely. And there's some a couple of things. There's probably some good places to start, like the People Planet Pint events. They're pretty good if you want to kind of go and build a network. Equally, like you suggested earlier with the SDG stuff, is reach out to suppliers, ask them what they're doing, reach out to people and just our customers that you've got, like ask them where are they getting their advice from, where are they looking. I think the key is asking. And then you mentioned there as well, like very friendly. I think one of the things you began by saying, and kind of what got you into the space, was that sense of purpose, right? There's a deeper reason behind working in sustainability. We're not just doing it to make money. It's not about that. It's about, really just try to kind of build good businesses that make an impact on the world for the better. And yeah, and we need to work together to do that. So
Yeah.
yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, brilliant. So kind of then, again, the key behind these kind of chats is just kind of short, sharp, cover different topics and kind of inspire some action or kind of interest people in what everyone's doing. One of the things, what sectors would you say are particularly hard for sustainability, or where do you think different sectors might be struggling, and what kind of key actions could be taken to kind of move and do things along the sustainability
Yeah.
path?
Yeah. So I think, and this is really interesting from my perspective and Pointer's perspective, from a sector point of view, that we, I guess, with the sort of non-sustainability work we do from a project and program management and change management perspective, we do or have done work in sort of the aerospace and sort of some defence work and stuff in the past, and some those are the sectors that we've been active in, and definitely been and continue to engage those clients in terms of sustainability and how they can be more sustainable. And that's a huge challenge for them. Like it's a massive challenge. It's the idea of turning the tugboat around type of thing. Like yeah, they're very established, ingrained, huge industries, and sort of getting them to engage and understand how they can be more sustainable is a really big challenge. But I think the steps that can be taken, so touching on the second part of the question, is I guess acknowledgement and awareness, and I think that's starting to happen. So for example, from like a aerospace and sort of defense point of view, I think the RAF have committed to net zero by 2040. That's I think a public commitment that is out there now, so that is good. It's the start of something that hopefully, if that starts to then trickle down as action through to, okay, well, that's the goal that we're trying to work towards, action and work needs to take place to get towards that. But that's definitely a huge challenge because of the nature of those industries. But I think once you start to see the motivation and see the ambition to make change, which I think is starting to happen, then hopefully that can only be a positive thing. Yeah,
absolutely. And then just to kind of dive into that a little bit, like maybe, I don't know, I certainly think like people that are businesses and companies and organizations that are trying to become more sustainable, that there's key traits among the people that are leading them. So I think they really kind of don't prioritize their own ego, to put it one way or better way. I don't know. They're really kind of just accepting that they don't know where to go, they don't know where to start, but they're kind of committed to making a change, making a positive change. I don't know. Does that kind of resonate with you? And where can people kind of start if they are kind of like, listen, I don't know what to do here. This is all very complex, but where can I start? Because I'm open to it. I'm above the line. I'm open. I'm committed to change. I'm curious. I'm not kind of on the defense, kind of trying to pie off anyone that's trying to support. Yeah, where would people find that support? And is that a kind of trait that you've seen with the leaders, individuals you've worked with that are kind of leading these companies? Because ultimately companies are just people. So yeah, if we can get more people like that, we could ultimately be better off. So yeah, what do you think on that?
Yeah, completely. I mean, firstly, I completely agree. I think it's like a dichotomy of sort of that knowledge and imposter syndrome element. I think there's a big misconception that you need to be uber qualified to talk about sustainability or sort of offer the knowledge or on the things that you're trying to do as a business. And I completely agree that the term, the big G words, greenwashing, comes into things, and there's definitely that element of trying to protect against that. But I think there's a scenario that people and business leaders need to sort of show a bit more, like you said, transparency and openness about their sort of vulnerabilities. That we want to, and we have ambitions to be more sustainable as a business, but we don't really know where to start. And then to touch on, I guess, your question around what that looks like, it comes back to the network piece and a lot of the support that's available out there. So, for example, Sustainable Pathways and some of what they're trying to do around collating different offerings that exist in the space and bring those all into almost a one-stop shop of, if you need support, this is where you come from. And there's lots of different stuff on the platform, and work through that, and we can talk to you about what might work for you and what might not work for you. But but it's the idea of this is a place where you can come and understand what is out there. And there are a lot of different networks. So I think we've done some stuff in the past where we've attended Set Squared events, which I'm not sure if you've come across Set Squared, but they're a sort of a network of sort of universities and things in across the southwest, and they sort of get funding and put on sort of sustainability workout events. So I was at one of those a couple of weeks ago representing Pointer, and there were some businesses and business leaders who were attending that and showing exactly what you said. They were showing that vulnerability of, look, well, there's one example of a heavy manufacturing company, and they were saying, we want to be more sustainable, and the reason I'm here today for this session is that I don't know where to start. And that immediately allowed everybody in the room to take sort of an exhale and go, okay, great, well, thanks for showing that vulnerability, and should we get on with helping you to work out where you should start, as opposed to closed up and blocked off. I don't really want to engage on this because I don't want to, the fear of getting wrong or saying the wrong thing. So yeah, the networks out there, the people out there who want to support and want to help, and it's not a trying to trap you into saying the wrong thing or doing the wrong thing. If you have the willingness and the ambition to want to better your business, and the people are out there to help you do that.
To help, yeah, and just kind of, I suppose, wrapping up a bit, one thing that you mentioned there, vulnerability, like, is quite paradoxical, because, like, yeah, you're absolutely right. Like, standing in a room with people, if you're running your own company and you're there as the kind of leader of that company, and you're like, hey, I don't really know what to do, don't really know where to start with this. But yeah, that is kind of, you're being vulnerable. But the irony, I think, is that you're as a company, you're going to be more vulnerable if you pretend to know what you're doing. Like, as a company, exactly, you're actually becoming more, because people are going to come at you. They're going to be like, you're talking rubbish, this isn't true. Whereas if you actually go out and go, hey, we don't know, you're actually putting your company in a much stronger position. You're actually less vulnerable as a company for kind of external threat of kind of people coming at you, maybe activist groups or different stakeholders sort of calling you out. So there's kind of like a paradox in that. Like,
yeah,
the vulnerability
exactly.
paradox. I don't know. What do you think?
Yeah, completely agree, and you can completely understand and see why that is a case of sort of bigger companies in the public sphere in terms of their brand and their reputation. And you do now and again see companies who get it wrong or do something wrong, and it hits the media, and it can be really damaging for the brand. But I think you're completely right. The flip side is that really engaging with a sustainability agenda and thinking about having an ambition for making your business more sustainable, whether that's going down routes like B Corp, or whether it's other type of accreditations, other ways of changing how your supply chain may operate, if you have sort of a big and complex supply chain. If you have the commitment to commit the time and commit the resource to doing that as a business, or to getting the external support in to help you with that, it can be really game changing for you, and it can be really beneficial in terms of differentiating you amongst competition, or really really helping you to stand out from the crowd in terms of customers and potential people. Well, yeah, there are 5 options on the table. I'm going to go with the one who've got the option of the product that's got the biggest sustainability agenda, because that's what I care about, and that is increasingly what a lot of consumers and people in sort of younger generations of the next generations coming through do really care about.
Absolutely. Right. Ben, thank you very much. And if you've been listening and you're thinking, listen, I could do a bit more of this, or I don't really know where to start, I think a couple of things. One of the big assumptions that this is really expensive and it's going to cost your business money. Like, sustainability is a value add to your business. It's not like, I don't know, paying anyone that's an accountant, don't take this the wrong way, but like, that's something that you have to do as a business. It's not necessarily contributing to the value you're creating. It's just a process you have to go through. But certainly with this is about transforming your business. It's about actually building value. So if anyone's listening to this and thinking, oh, I could learn a bit more, well, Ben and the team are leading some free events this week. Now, if this doesn't go out in time, then they'll be recorded. You can go and listen to them. They'll be on YouTube, no doubt. But also, you've also got some workshops on the site as well, on Sustainable Pathways platform, for I think 249 quid. You can get a one-on-one workshop, or a workshop with your team, or whatever, there with Ben and the team. So if you're like, I want to know more about B Corp, carbon offsetting, sustainability strategy, then go and check out the Pointer Consultancy Group profile, and you'll be able to kind of check in there, and you can message Ben through the platform as well. What would be one way you would finish this podcast? What would be one kind of word or one sentence you would give to a company to try and inspire them, or to give them hope on where to start?
Well, I've drip fed I've drip fed some like cliches throughout. Not, and they weren't pre-planned, but I think I'll go with rip the plaster off, rip the band-aid off. It's not easy. It's not an easy topic. There's a lot of misconception out there around sustainability and around it's something that's scary. What does it actually mean? What does it mean for my business? If you really start to unpack that and get into the details, ultimately what it means is improving. It's business improvement. It's improving the chance of your business to be a success in the future from all facets of that, environmental perspectives, social and the governance perspective. And so rip that band-aid off, get involved, try and think about what you want and the ambitions you have for your business. And I don't think there's anybody out there who's really engaged in their sustainability agenda and regrets it. I think you'd be hard pressed to find a business that regrets everything they've done from a sustainability perspective. So yeah, that wasn't a very concise sentence.
That was a great way to finish. That was exactly my question. So yeah, I'm going to work on the conciseness of my question. But no, great way to finish. Thank you so much.